Welcome to episode 12 of Run the Length. Before we get into the episode, I want to point you to my Patreon. I have recently reworked the pledge goals and introduced custom status effect tokens that are exclusive to Run the Length. I think they turned out great. Go check them out. My opponent this week is Ben Lang. Ben Lang is famous for having won 5 separate Who's the Boss events and winning the Guild Ball team tournament at Adepticon. He is also the local Chicago Pundit and an all-around cool guy. We select plots. I end up with Good Marker, Match Fixing, and Who Are Ya? Ben's plots are Heroic Landing, Knee Slider, and Brace for Impact. The terrain on this board is fast terrain at the top, then moving down we have 2 obstacles, rough terrain, a sheep, and another obstacle. Ben wins the roll and chooses to receive. I decide to stay on the right. As always, there's a link in the description that will allow you to skip the draft and get straight into the game. My roster is Midas, Smoke, Flask, Calculus, Compound, Catalyst, Catalyst 2, Mercury, Vitriol, Harry the Hat. Ben's roster is Ballista, Pinvice, Mother, Compound, Colossus, Hoist, Locus, Ratchet, Velocity. We reveal captains and mascots. Ben selects Ballista and Mother while I reveal Smoke and Flask. Ben picks Hoist. I pick Calculus. Ben picks Ratchet. I pick Mercury. Ben picks Avarice and Greed. I pick Harry. Ben picks Compound. I pick Vet Catalyst. So the Engineers Guild is one of Smoke's tougher matchups, but I wanted to play my WTC list on the cast, and I don't think this matchup is unwinnable. I've talked about my WTC list in a bunch of other places, so I won't take up too much time here. The general game plan is to use AoEs and conditions to keep the other team at arm's length and let them go first to deny momentum. If you want to know more about my list, links are in the description. I deploy in the bottom corner of the screen. From top to bottom we have Mercury, Harry, Flask, Smoke, Calculus who is kicking, and Vet Cat hanging out in the back. The idea here is to play the game as far away from the fast terrain as possible. Ben deploys Avarice and Greed at the top, then moving down we have Ballista, Compound, Ratchet, Hoist, and Mother. Calculus kicks out the ball, placing it in the midline and standing as far from the team as possible. The kick is accurate and scatters just off screen. Ben allocates. He places 3 on Mother, 4 on Hoist, 3 on Ratchet, 2 on Ballista, 1 on Greed. I allocate. I place 4 on Calculus, 2 on Mercury, 2 on Harry, 4 on Smoke, and 1 on Catalyst. Ben activates Mother, sprints, picks up the ball, drops a nest marker, then uses it to teleport to the marker. She kicks the ball to Compound and misses the kick. The ball scatters to Ratchet. I activate Flask, jog up, and pop Smoke. Ratchet drops the ball to Compound, tools up Hoist, then jogs forward. Ratchet drops a Blast Earth on Flask. Unfortunately, Compound has the ball behind the line, so Ratchet cannot use Momentous Inspiration to generate momentum. I activate Calculus and jog her up. I am careful to keep her outside of 3 of Flask, but inside Smoke's aura. I throw a Noxious Blast at Ratchet and hit it. Ben activates Avarice and Greed. He picks up Greed, then jogs Avarice forward. I activate Mercury, jog to just outside of 3 of Flask, and toss a Fire Ring, but I miss. Ben jogs Compound in front of the goal. I activate Harry, move him up, then I toss a Molotov. Ben activates Ballista, jogs over and uses Mind Field. I activate Vetcat, sprint him behind Harry. Ben activates Hoist. Hoist jogs within range and throws 2 Blast Earths on Flask. He hits both and Flask dies, dealing damage to Smoke and lighting her on fire. Score is now 1-0. I always seem to forget to play cagey with Flask when fighting engineers, and Ben makes me pay for moving Flask up too far on turn 1. I activate Smoke and Cloud Jumper into Flask's Smoke Cloud. Smoke pushes a Fire AoE onto Ballista, Ratchet, and Mother. I push the Poison AoE onto Hoist. Smoke copies the Poison AoE and pushes it onto Mother and Ballista. Smoke clears conditions and jogs backwards. This ends the turn. The momentum race is dead even, and Ben wins the initiative roll and chooses to go first. Ben allocates. He places 4 on Hoist, 1 on Compound, 3 on Ballista, 3 on Ratchet, 1 on Avarice. I place 3 on Calculus, 4 on Smoke, 2 on Vetcat, 2 on Harry, 2 on Mercury. Then I walk Flask back onto the table. This is my typical allocation for this team. It allows a lot of flexibility and is optimized for all character plays to be put out. My placement of Flask is super greedy. In retrospect, I should have brought him in on the other side of the board and just kept him out of the game. Ben activates Hoist. Hoist jogs up and places 2 Blast Earth on Smoke and Flask. He hits Smoke twice and Flask once. I am saved by the dice here pretty hard. I activate Flask and jog him away, fixing my huge positioning error. Ben activates Ratchet and uses Fixer to clear Hoist's conditions. He jogs forward and tools up Ballista, then tosses a Blast Earth on Harry and Mercury, hitting both. This triggers Rising Anger. I activate Calculus and hit Ratchet with a Noxious Blast. Then I sprint her into the woolly cover of the sheep. Ben activates Ballista and clears conditions. Ballista sprints towards the bottom of the pitch and uses Deadbolt on Calculus, dealing 4 damage, knocking her down and pushing her away. I activate Harry and sprint, then throw a Molotov in front of Ballista and Hoist. Ben activates Avarice, uses Momentum to glide, then sprints him around the rough terrain. I activate Mercury and jog him to reach Smoke's aura, then throw a Fire AoE and hit Ratchet. This brings him down to 8 HP. The hope here is that Ben does not heal him and I can get Blast Earth off the table as first activation next turn by using Smoke's feat and conditions this turn. Ben activates Mother, clears conditions, then jogs towards the middle of the pitch. I sprint Vetcat to within 10 of Avarice. Ben activates Compound and sprints up the table with the ball. I activate Smoke. I spend a momentum to glide and jog forward. Smoke pushes a Fire AoE into Avarice, then another Fire Ring into Hoist. Smoke pops Legendary, hits Hoist and Ratchet. Smoke then pushes the Poison Rings onto Hoist and Ballista. This ends the turn. I am leading the momentum race 4-1 and win the initiative roll. I choose to go first. I allocate 3 on Calculus, 2 on Mercury, 2 on Vetcat, 4 on Smoke, 2 on Harry. The plan here is to activate Calculus, hit Ratchet with the Poison AoE, killing him, which means he won't be able to use Blast Earth to punish my tight positioning. Then blind Avarice, preventing him from coming into my lines. Ben allocates. He places 5 on Avarice and Greed, 2 on Compound, 2 on Hoist, and 5 on Ballista. I activate Calculus, forfeit movement to stand up, and throw Noxious Blast at Ratchet. I hit it, killing him. The score is now 1-2. I then bonus time a blind into Avarice. I spend my other momentum to heal Calculus. Ben activates Ballista and heals him, then sprints to cover. He deadbolts Cat, hitting him, dealing 3 damage, knocking him down and pushing him 2 inches away. He then puts up Minefield. I jog Flask away from everyone and put him in cover. Ben activates Hoist and clears conditions, then jogs behind Ballista. This is a pretty big mistake. Healing is just better for him since Smoke will put those conditions back. I activate Mercury and toss a Fire Blast onto Ballista. I hit it, dealing 1 damage and lighting him on fire. He then jogs away from Avarice. Ben activates Compound and sprints towards the goal. I activate Harry. Harry jogs to within reach of Ballista. Minefield damages Harry, triggering Rising Anger. Harry attacks Ballista, knocking him down. Harry's second attack does Momentous Double Push, pulling him into base with Harry and Smoke. Harry heals himself. Ben jogs Mother up and places a nest marker. I activate Catalyst and remove conditions. I charge Ballista and take damage from Minefield. Cat wraps by 2, doing a total of 5 damage and generating 1 momentum. Cat's second attack does 3 damage and an Intensify. Cat's last attack does 3 damage and an Intensify. Cat heals himself. Avarice sprints forward. I activate Smoke. I duplicate the Poison AoE and push 1 onto Avarice and 1 into Hoist. I then push Fire onto Hoist. I am leading the momentum race 5-0 and choose to go first. When conditions tick down, Hoist is reduced to 0 HP and reanimate procs, so he cannot reanimate for the rest of the turn. I allocate 5 to Mercury, 2 to Catalyst, 3 to Calculus, 1 on Smoke, and 2 on Harry. So the plan here is to attempt to kill Hoist with Mercury by throwing a Fire Blast, then if we hit it, bonus time a Flame Jet to try to take him off the table. I decide to go for this because if we miss the Fire Blast, we can just take 2 swings at Ballista and kill him. Ben allocates. He places 4 on Hoist, 3 on Ratchet, 5 on Avarice and Greed, and 2 on Compound. I activate Mercury and sprint him to melee with Ballista, then throw a Fire Blast onto Hoist and hit it. I grab momentum from Smoke's aura and immediately bonus time a Flame Jet onto Hoist and kill him. The score is now 1-4. This is a big deal since it robs him of 4 influence and one of his best models. Ben clears conditions on Avarice and jogs into melee with Calculus, then drops off Greed. They both take poison. Avarice attacks Calculus, dealing 4 damage and knocking her down. Greed attacks Calculus, singling her out. Avarice attacks her again, wrapping by 2, dealing 6 damage. Avarice's last attack only does 3 damage, and Calculus lives with 1 HP. Avarice heals Ballista and picks up Greed. Greed loses poison. I activate Catalyst and charge Avarice, wrapping by 1, doing 4 damage and knocking him down. I stand up Calculus and swing at Avarice again, dealing 3 damage and an Intensify. Catalyst puts up Witness Me and makes his final attack against Ballista and leaves him on 1. I think I got a little greedy here trying to set up back-to-back Witness Me's to end the game. I should not have taken the knockdown on Avarice, since 1 more Intensify would have done in Ballista. But on the other hand, getting the 8 hits I needed to kill him was a 72% chance, and if I had bonus timed it, it goes up to 90%. Maybe I should have just done that. Ben activates Ratchet and throws a Blast Earth on Calculus, Catalyst, and Smoke. She hits Calculus and Catalyst, but misses Smoke. This kills Calculus. Score is now 3-4. I activate Harry and attack Ballista, wrapping by 1, to get a double momentous takeout. The score is now 3-6. Harry jogs to Avarice and attacks, dealing 2 damage. Ben activates Mother and drops a nest marker next to Catalyst. I activate Smoke and push the fire AoE onto Avarice and Mother. Ben activates Compound and sprints towards the goal. I activate Flask and do nothing with him. This ends the turn. I am leading in momentum 5-3. I win the roll and choose to go first. I allocate. I place 2 on Catalyst, 2 on Harry, 4 on Smoke, 2 on Mercury, 3 on Calculus. Ben allocates. He places 3 on Ratchet, 4 on Hoist, 3 on Ballista, 2 on Compound. I activate Catalyst and attack Avarice, killing him. The score is now 3-8. Catalyst uses his heroic and charges Mother. Ben declares a defensive stance. The charge does Momentous 2 and Intensify. Catalyst's last attack does 2 damage, and I choose to Witness Me. The score is now 5-11. Ben activates Ballista. Ballista sprints forward and hits Smoke with a deadbolt. Ben chooses not to push her. I activate Mercury and throw a Fire Blast at Ratchet, hitting it, then backing up. Ben activates Ratchet and tools up Hoist. He then throws a Blast Earth at Smoke and hits it. Ratchet jogs back. I activate Calculus and jog up a bit. She throws a Noxious Blast on Ballista and hits it. I spend 2 momentum to heal Smoke and 1 to heal Calculus. Ben activates Hoist and jogs him towards Ballista, then borrows Blast Earth and hits Smoke with 1. He throws again and hits her again. This brings Smoke down to 2 HP. I activate Smoke, forfeit movement to stand up, and duplicate Poison, then push it into Ratchet. I move the fire AoE into Ballista, then Cloud Jumper away. I heal Smoke. Here I have activated Smoke early, but since he only has Compound left, I feel I can push the clouds without fear of him clearing conditions. Also, I wanted to heal her as soon as possible. Ben activates Compound and sprints into base contact with the goal. I activate Harry and sprint him towards Compound and hit him with a Molotov. This ends the turn. Ben is leading the momentum race 1-0 and wins the roll. He chooses to go first. Ben allocates 3 to Compound, 3 to Ratchet, 4 to Hoist, and 4 to Ballista. he jogs Avarice back on the pitch. And Mother just off screen. I jog Catalyst back on the board near Compound. This is a bit of a mistake. In my rush to end the game, I have given him an opportunity to push one of my key players off the pitch. I allocate 2 to Catalyst, 3 to Harry, 2 to Mercury, 3 to Calculus, and 3 to Smoke. Ben activates Compound and jogs into melee with Catalyst, and attacks him dealing a momentous tackle push. His second attack does momentous double push to just outside of Compound's melee. Compound shoots the goal and gets it. The score is now 9-11. Ben does not play Knee Slider, and I forget to play Who Are Ya? I kick the ball in between Harry and Mercury, and it scatters just behind the line. I activate Calculus and throw an AoE, and I hit it. I collect the momentum even though the ball is behind the line. Be sure to make fun of me in the comments. I reveal good marker and bonus time a blind on Ballista and hit it. Then Calculus jogs over toward Harry. Ben activates Avarice and doesn't do anything. I activate Harry and attack Compound. Ben counters. Harry removes Glut Mass. Compound's counterattack does a push. Harry knocks Compound down. Harry's last attack does a double push. Ben activates Ratchet and tools up Hoist, then throws a Blast Earth on Calculus and Mercury, and heals himself. Catalyst charges Compound, dealing 4 damage and Intensify. Catalyst's second attack does 2 damage Intensify. Catalyst's final attack does Momentous 4 and Intensify. Catalyst spends a momentum to heal. In this moment, I am incredibly punished for not playing Who Are Ya, as an extra 4 hits would kill Compound and win me the game. Ballista sprints forward and deadbolts Calculus, dealing 3 damage, knocking her down, and pushing her 2 inches. I activate Flask, heal, and jog towards Harry. Hoist jogs forward and throws 2 Blast Earths on Calculus and Mercury, hitting each of them once. I activate Mercury and sprint to pick up the ball, then kick the ball to Smoke, generating another illegal momentum. I use it to dodge 4 inches with Smoke. Ben activates Mother and does nothing. I activate Smoke and try to end my turn doing nothing before I clock out, but I can't quite manage it in time. The score is now 10-11. This ends the turn. I am winning the momentum race, 2-1. Ben wins the initiative roll and elects to go first. Ben allocates 3 to Ballista, 4 to Hoist, 3 to Ratchet, and 4 to Compound. I allocate 2 to Catalyst, 4 to Harry, 2 to Calculus, 2 to Mercury, and 3 to Smoke. Ben activates Compound. He forfeits movement to stand up and attacks Catalyst. He only gets 1 hit and does 1 damage. Compound buys his second attack and does 1 damage. Then Ben clocks out. Ben decides not to finish the activation since he can't win. Final score 10-12. This post-game analysis is made possible by the Patreon support of viewers like you. This game was super tight, incredibly grindy, and came down to a double clock out. I made a handful of key mistakes early with Flask that allowed him to gain extra advantage from his character plays. I think the key turn was the one where I managed to kill Hoist with Mercury. Even though the play didn't have the highest odds of success, floating in the middle 60s, the reward was so high and the risk was fairly low. Missing my first Witness Me opened the game back up to disaster, especially when you combine it with my bad placement of Catalyst on the turn I brought him back. But here I would like to pass the question on to you. What were our mistakes this game? Would you have made different decisions during the game? Let me know in the comments down below. Hit that like button, it helps other Guild Ball players find this video. Hit the subscribe button to know the moment I upload a new video, and share this with your friends. I'm Vincent Curkov, and this has been Run the Length.